Hello, Needham, and welcome to What's My House Worth? This just in, the snow is melting outside. That's a good thing, Ryan.
That is breaking news, Rob.
That is breaking news. We like when the snow melts. There's a lot to go, but we'll take it even if it's a little bit at a time.
Inch by inch.
My name is Rob Tickton. This is Ryan McDonald. We are with Hawthorne Real Estate. We are a design build company. We also provide brokerage services for our clients, but today we're not here to do those things. Today we are here to talk about the sales data for the month of
February.
That's correct. The month of
February.
That's right. We're going to talk about those sales. There were 13 in total. We're going to then break down each sale as we always do, Ryan. We're going to go on a sale by sale basis, working our way at the bottom, working our way up. Couple big sellers.
Couple big sellers.
This month, more so than usual.
What month?
The month of
February. I'm handling February duties.
That's right. He's going to say the name of the month during this month's episode. We're going to take a look at the overall gross sales data. That's how we get the thing. And when I say the thing, I mean the show kicked off.
This thing we do.
This thing we do. And as we look at the sales data, Ryan, anything jump off the page? Obviously, the first number is always the most important.
Yes, for the month of February, we had 13 sales, which is, which is not a very high number, Rob. We had 18 in January.
It's not lucky either.
No, it isn't. We also had a Friday the 13th in February, so maybe there's a correlation. Maybe not, though.
And there's going to be one in March as well.
That's true. That's true. And every non-leap year. That's right. So the average list price for our February sales is 1.34, which is up quite a bit from 1.084, which, as Rob alluded to, we do have a couple of big ticket items at the back end of the show, which is boosting those numbers. Also, average sales price of 1.285. That's also up from just over $1 million last month as well. And correspondingly, our average percentages are down. 96% of list and 90% of original list. That's down from 99, 96 last month, and it's also definitely a factor or a product of those big sales with some big price drops that are skewing the numbers.
Yeah, there were definitely some significant price drops, which we'll get to. Yeah. So those numbers, I wouldn't get too alarmed when I see that those are the lowest that we've seen probably since doing the show.
Right. Those are not indicative of market conditions. They're indicative of a month with not a large sample size and some outliers. So our average sales price per square foot also down, $319. Again, sound like a broken record. That's a product of what we have in the mix this month, and 11 homes selling in February last year. So we're actually up a couple sales from last year. So that's not bad.
How about that? Well, all the snow that we got in the month of
February
wouldn't necessarily affect the sales in the month of.
No, true. Right. But it's just again, we're not raising alarm bells because we only have 13 sales this month. So in our average days on market of 110, that's still a pretty good clip as far as turning over inventory, especially this time of year. So all in all, not too shabby. But we'll obviously get into the details later on.
And before we do that, we're going to take a look at the trends, starting with the last 6 months, and just to kind of get an idea on how the month of
February
shapes up in perspective with the other 5 months. And we never like to see things going down, but we certainly aren't surprised that they are.
Right. We're always looking for anomalies, and really we don't see a lot of them. And this one again is similar to what we would expect to see. As far as the trends given the time of year.
Right, although one thing that did kind of jump out at me is the fact that the trend for the last 6 months is vastly different than it was in 2014.
Oh, well then, that's different.
Right, so that kind of flies in the face of your logic, but...
Yeah, right in my face, actually.
It was, we pull that back up, in 2014, it was we had a big spike in the month of December. Not November.
Okay.
And then it dropped significantly for the following 2 months. So for whatever reason, I think I'm guessing it's going to head in the same direction from here on out. Yeah. But it's interesting how whether weather patterns have something to do with it or the summer or whatnot. But yeah, just something I picked up and I noticed.
Fascinating stuff.
That's right. February 2. Ooh, I said it.
Yeah, good job. See, you can do it. Right. I'm so proud of him.
Feels good.
That's wonderful.
Feels good.
All right.
Now I can't say it again.
No, let's not get carried away.
So how does 2015 shape up with the
Februaries
of the previous 5 years? And we'll take a look at pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean you have that February 2012, but as we know that was a leap year, so they get an extra day.
Which probably explains the extra 6 or 7 sales.
Right, and I think as we observed last year, everyone thought it would be great to try to get their sale closed on the 29th, so you had a huge push to get it in. But anyway, so it kind of looks like an inchworm, creeping its way up towards the the spring market that's on the horizon.
I like it, Ryan.
Good spring reference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we're heading towards the busy season, as we like to call it, for the real estate year, and we're very excited about that.
And I'm super excited for 2016 because we have another leap year coming up.
Right, so who knows? We might have 30 sales in February next year.
We'll have 2 leap years on our graph. I think that's the first time that'll happen since we've been on the show.
Yeah, that is a milestone. Good for us.
Time to break down the sales, and we're going to go over to Lincoln Street, which is a nice little walk-to-town location, Ryan.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Definitely. I mean, this is a block from town, really. I mean,
do I see a house in that picture?
No.
Okay,
no,
why is that?
Well, this is a land sale. 138 Lincoln Street. It's a good-sized lot, 10,890 square feet. It's on the block of Lincoln that's kind of, that has a house across the street from it. So it doesn't have the hospital across the street, doesn't have Briarwood. It has another house. So it's in a nice residential block of Lincoln.
Correct.
But you do have, it is a street that's traveled on by hospital traffic and the Briarwood facility.
And you don't have to walk too far to get to the hospital.
No. So if you're injured, I mean, you could just roll down, you could roll right into the emergency room. It'd be really convenient for that. Hopefully that doesn't have to happen.
That's true, which is a better case than being close to a cemetery.
That's true. That's very true. So $525 for a 10,000, almost 11,000 square foot lot. On paper, looks like a fantastic land sale for the buyer. In the location, with the exception of the facilities that are nearby, is wonderful as far as an in-town location. So I mean, all in all, I think this is probably a good deal for both sides. It's probably a fair number. It was on the market for 1 day, so I mean, it definitely went on and off quickly. So we'll keep our eyes on what goes up on that spot.
And just to be clear, there was a house on that lot.
Yes,
right,
correct.
And do we know if it was torn down and new construction's going up? I would imagine that's what
I think that's
imminent.
Yes, I mean, given who the buyer is, I believe that's a foregone conclusion at this point.
Okay. Next up on the list is 43 Hunting Road. Of course, this is a street that's tucked away right there between 128 and Highland Ave. I believe it's the last turnoff before you get to 128 off of Highland Avenue, Ryan.
Yeah, and it's also very early on. This is my deal of the month for the seller. And the reason I have this as my deal is because it's a house that's on Hunting. It's it's kind of a busy road. It's selling for $700,000. It's 2,500 square feet, so it's good space, but it needs everything except for a roof. Ironically, the roof is pretty new, but the house needs a lot of work, and so I look at this not as a $700,000 house, but this is more of $1 million house. And I say that because the buyer that's coming in here, you're not finished at $705. You've got some work to do, and
$300,000 worth?
In all likelihood, you could spend $300,000 in completely renovating this house, and then now you're left with $1 million house, and you're on Hunting. So does the neighborhood necessarily support that? And I'm not so sure that it does. And then if you look at the numbers, the last 2 years, which are pretty good years,
right?
And with a decent sample size on Greendale and Hunting, and I include Greendale because it's really, they're kind of connected. I mean, your highest sale price is 1.1, and that was on old Greendale. It wasn't even Greendale.
Right. I remember that listing.
Yeah, and your average sale price is in the 6s. So you're stretching, I think, at this price point for this house, given the work that it has to do, and that's why that would be my deal of the month for the seller.
All right, backyard has an outdoor shower in that house.
It does, and it's a really nice backyard too. It's 16,000 square feet, so there's not a lot to like about the property. It's just about, did we, as the buyer, are you getting your, the right value?
Not many backyard showers in Needham, I would guess.
Hey, we've built a couple.
Okay.
They're fun.
They are fun.
Yeah.
566 Honeywell Street is next up. A walk to Needham Heights location. We like walk to Needham Heights locations,
sure.
And this looks like a nice deal for the buyer, Ryan.
Yeah, and especially like when you compare it to one we just talked about.
Right.
So
right.
If you're buying 566 Honeywell for $710, you're right between Mark Lee and West Street. So it's really right by Trader Joe's, CVS. So kind of a nice little commuter location. It's slightly smaller lot, but similar square footage, and it's finished.
Right, 4 bedrooms upstairs.
Yeah, so this one, when compared to 43 Hunting, I think this is a better buy, and I think a much better value.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's we talk about that location being a good spot and being convenient to a lot of different things.
Yep.
The one thing it's missing is the master bedroom, but
right.
I mean, in this price range, you're not going to see too many master bedrooms anyway. 5 Melrose Avenue, as we're starting to kind of work our way a little bit closer to town center, is a house that I thought was a little ambitious when it went on the market at $825,000, but sure enough, it sells for $792 in a relatively short period of time.
Yep.
You're over that 2,000 square footage number, which is a pretty big threshold, smaller lot, and although it's on Melrose, it's also on the corner of Brookline.
Correct.
Right, so a little bit of a busier location. Also notice that this one sold in 2008 for $612,000. So I would say that the owners did pretty well for themselves.
Yeah, it did pretty well because I think it's in similar condition inside.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is steps from Mitchell. It's close to town, close to the high school, obviously. But you're right. I mean, it is on the corner of a busy street. The house faces Melrose, but a lot of the property is right abutting Brookline, which is
fine.
Yeah, and Brookline, I mean, honestly, like, outside of the Mitchell commute and the high school letting out, it's not like Brookline is consistently, wall-to-wall traffic.
True, but I think you're looking at a street where cars are pretty much zooming by.
True.
You're not playing catch on Brookline.
No, you're not. No, you're not. But like you said, this, we both kind of thought maybe this was aggressive, but also when this was on the market, there wasn't anything else in this price range, so it had the market to itself almost. And it did well. So this is a good number.
Well, you said it yourself, steps to Mitchell. I mean, those are like 3 magic words in real estate, right? For Needham, a lot of people, they hear that and they're immediately interested regardless of where the house is or the condition or anything else.
Right, and you can watch the fireworks 2 blocks away.
You can.
Yeah. Now, does that mean you have to go 2 blocks to watch the fireworks, or?
No.
Okay.
You can just watch them from 2 blocks away.
I see. Okay.
But, you're talking about one day a year.
Right, that's true.
Let's not get too excited.
That's true. That's true.
But at least it's a single
weather
family.
pending also.
And it's a single family home.
Right.
Which brings up our next one, 125 Booth Street.
Yep.
This one sells for $875,000. And you'll notice that there's a fee.
What's the fee for?
Huh. Homeowners insurance? How's that?
Why does a single family home have a fee?
Because, wait a minute.
Oh, this is a townhouse.
It is.
Who tried to slip a townhouse in on us?
We've been bamboozled.
We got boothed.
I will say this, and we see this every once in a while of agents putting condos and townhomes up as single families, but disclosing within the listing that it is a townhouse. So it's not like they're really trying to pull a fast one.
No.
Right? I think
it's a medium-paced one.
Well, the logic is there are probably people looking for single family homes who would actually appreciate this listing and maybe be interested in it, but looking for a townhome might not be on their radar, right?
So you don't think it's to try to get us to talk about it on the show?
I think that's probably about 5% of the reason.
Yeah, I'd say it's higher.
Okay. Either way, I don't begrudge anybody for doing it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
And under certain circumstances would do it. You can't help but think of that unsuspecting buyer
who drives up,
who goes to the open house and they're like, wait a minute, this is attached.
Wait a cotton picking minute.
So that's why I have no choice but to use the word bamboozle when talking about 125 Booth Street. Anything else before we move on?
No. Matter of fact, no.
All right, let's move on then.
All right, fine.
128 Arch Street is where we're going to head for our next listing. This is a home that sells for $1,225. Sells for list. 2 days.
Yes, and
boom.
Yeah, I mean, this home just keeps selling too. I mean,
it's the home that keeps on selling.
I think maybe it's written in the deed that you can only own it for a couple of years. I mean, it's sold 2003, 2005, 2009, 2015, and each year, or each time, it gets progressively more expensive.
Well, that's the way we like to see it.
I mean, this is the perfect example of Needham market appreciation.
Or of the benefits of home ownership.
You sell the same house over and over, and it keeps appreciating. So, this is a great location. I mean, right on the corner of Arch and Highgate.
Yep.
So, really nice spot, and I remember seeing in 2009, the last time it sold prior to this one, and it didn't show well at all. And then this time around, it was very nicely, like the owner had it set up very nicely. It just showed so much better, and it sold in 2 days for asking, and that's a clear indication of why. So I like this sale. This is a good deal. It's a great location.
34 Hazel Lane is our next home. This is a new construction house. Days on market on this one says 220. Technically, Ryan, it was 470 when you consider that it was on the market, from pre-construction straight through. The builder paid $560 for this. Sells it for $565. Is that right?
It is.
Huh. I have $560 on my notes.
Yeah.
Sells
my notes are more accurate.
All right, we'll get back to that on the March show. There's a month I can say. Sells for $1.3. Great neighborhood. The new Elliott School, Ryan. What else do you have to say about this?
I mean, this
listing?
is definitely an up-and-coming neighborhood. I mean, we've talked about this a couple of times.
There's been a lot of action on this neighborhood, I feel like, over the past year.
This is the Woodbine Circle, Fay Lane, Hazel. It's in Elliott. It's very very quick to 128 Needham Heights. Elliott School is the new Elliott School. I mean, this is another one. We got to name this neighborhood. I was kind of thinking about some possibilities, but we can discuss that maybe for
offline.
Offline, maybe for another show. This house is one of our we talk about the spec market and the 1.3s. What this house had that a lot of the other houses don't in this price point, they had some built-ins in the family room, which I like to see. I mean, it's I think buying new construction, that's something that should be in there, and not a lot of these new construction homes in this price range have built-ins in the family room, and this one did, and I appreciated that. Also,
it's nice of you to mention it then, right?
Yeah, thanks. So small size built-ins in the mudroom, but went with the hardwood floor in the mudroom, Rob. How do you feel about the hardwood floor in the mudroom?
I get nervous.
I do too.
Like it's going to get scuffed up pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly. I mean, it's...
Unless there's a dog washing station, which in this one there's not.
No, there isn't. There isn't. Some houses have them though.
It's a nice feature.
Yeah. So I mean, I think at 1.3, this is probably a better deal for the buyer.
Oh, I think
than the seller.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I think this is a better house than some of the other houses that we've seen in the 1.3s in recent shows, recent months.
Well, it's funny. You have this listing, 34 Hazel Lane, sells for 1.3 million, and then you go to our next listing, which also sells for 1.3 million. Sells same sales prices to the penny, but they couldn't be more different.
Couldn't be more different.
I mean, everything about it is different.
This is what makes the job of a broker challenging, because you're dealing with comps that have nothing to do with each other.
Which might explain why previous agents have had such a hard time, and homeowners, pricing this house.
Right.
Because
it was
there really is nothing to compare it to.
Tough one to price out. I mean, it started out at 1.769, so that's clearly skewing our percentages as far as sale price percentage of list. Sells for 1.3, is on the market for close to a year, 5,000 square feet. So like on paper, 5,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, pool, big lot.
On Fox Hill Road.
On Fox Hill Road. I mean, it's screaming for a number that's higher than 1.3. But then you go inside, and it's very unique in its decor and how it was finished. In the layout. In the layout. It took either a very specific buyer who wanted the way it was, or someone who loves the specs on paper and has the wherewithal and the budget to do some cosmetic updates to the house. So, I mean, first floor master, but it was right off the foyer. I mean, you walk in the door, and you have this big vice foyer, then the first floor master is right there.
Right to your right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just found that to be a unique spot for a master bedroom. And it was specific to its owner, and that's fine. It's hard to price that when you're the listing agent and the homeowner to try to capture the attention of the market, and I think that this is what happens sometimes.
Well, what I thought was interesting about this is, like you said, it was listed for 1.769, sells for 1.3, which that's a vast spread, which we kind of thought was going to happen when we first walked through it. But when this house conveyed in 2009, it was listed for 1.888, and it sold for 1.415.
Right. So there was precedent.
So I would say to the current homeowners, enjoy your home, no hurry. But when the time comes to list it, just take it down about $400,000, and then you won't have any problems.
Right, do not forget what
I think these are instances probably of people falling in love with this home, but not realizing that this particular home is not for everyone. It's just really for them, and so it was, I guess, a good buy when you consider that it sold for 1.415. 5 years ago.
We're not talking about an inexpensive house.
No.
It's still getting $1.3 million. I mean, it's a cool property. The pool's really neat. It's one of those ones that you just really have to take a complete objective look at it when you're going to price it the next time.
Right. I just wish the front yard was a little bit small and the backyard was a little bigger.
Yeah. Sure.
48 Elmwood Road is a house that I thought was a pretty good buy for the buyer. I think 132, when you look at this house and take a look at the specs and where it is a good number.
Yeah, it's not overly large.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that 3,400 square feet includes the basement, and you do have the train running through your backyard.
That's true.
But it was built in 2003, nicely finished. I mean, you're right. It's a great location. It's a good price, I think it's not. It didn't strike me as either too high or too low. It's sort of nestled into the this is just right. From a Three Little Bears perspective.
When you see that a broker is the owner of the property, do you see that as a good thing or a bad thing?
Three Bears.
That's right. Yeah.
The broker's the owner?
Close enough. Yeah. Is that a good thing or a bad thing or neither?
I mean, it totally depends. I mean,
on the broker.
Yeah. I mean, we've done enough of selling homes that have ownership interest in, and sometimes it can be a detriment, and sometimes it can make the process easier. It makes it easier, obviously, if you price it objectively as the homeowner, which is this broker owner did. Mm-hmm. So that's you're getting off on the wrong foot when the broker and owner are the same and the prices is clearly too high. Then you know you're going to have your hands full from a transaction standpoint because there's a lack of objectivity going on. But this one, I don't think that was the case at all.
Yeah, it seemed to be like a pretty clean transaction.
Yeah.
354 Brookline Street. First thing I notice as I look at this listing is a little red writing.
Yes, I do see some red writing.
It's my deal of the month.
Good.
For the seller.
Okay.
So the reason it is, Ryan, is I look at this listing and I think it's a perfect example of what's kind of happened in this market for the past 2 years or so.
Okay.
All right. You have the seller who actually bought this home not very long ago.
2013.
They bought it 2013 for $131. House was listed for $145 when they bought it. Couple reductions, they get it for $131. Mm-hmm. A year and a half, a little bit more later, they turn around and sell this house for $148. So they're making 13% return on their house that they've owned for a year and a half.
Not a bad return.
Not a bad return. And like I said, I think that is almost mirrors kind of what we've seen, at least anecdotally, but also with the numbers as we've done the show now for, a few years.
Ever.
Of what's been happening in this market over the last 2 years, which is it's gone up. Now, is it going to continue to go up 13% every 19 months? I don't know about that, but I can tell you that it's just seems to kind of fit that mold very neatly of kind of what we've been seeing. And
it's a microcosm.
It's a microcosm, which I actually wrote right here, microcosm.
Yeah, you did.
But I didn't use it.
How about that?
Yeah, I know.
Fun.
So there you go.
Yeah, I think I would echo those sentiments almost verbatim.
Yep. 39 Dogwood Lane is where we're headed. Neighborhood we have a little bit of familiarity with. It's a little bit of turnover on that street.
A lot of bit of turnover on that street.
Good thing in terms of the people who are moving in there. It's always tough to be the first one in.
Yes.
But a cul-de-sac location in Broadmeadow.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a street that you're not aware of unless you're headed there. I mean, this one is as tucked away as they come, and it is a cul-de-sac, so it really doesn't get you anywhere. But just a great little nook. And as you said, there was some rapid turnover. So we did a development right next door to this one, and then there were two others that went up before we even started ours, and then there's one going up now. So 4 homes have turned over on this little cul-de-sac in a year and a half, mm-hmm. Which is remarkable. And this is a very nice house. The only thing that I thought was strange here is having developed the lot next door and recognizing the topography allows for a wonderful opportunity to do what we love to do, which is a great walkout basement. This house had the same opportunity, yet they chose to do some considerable amount of land filling with some, they made the basement at grade and then did an attic. And the one thing that this particular property doesn't have great is views. And so doing the 3rd floor, you have views unfortunately, you have views of power lines, you have views of Greendale, and you have views of the train.
Right.
So it's sort of accentuated the things that I would try to maybe take the eyes away from. But having said that, it's still sold for $1.63, so I think they got to be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that people really don't know where this street is. I know somebody lives on Berkshire, which is in this neighborhood, and they never heard of it.
Yeah.
68 Burr Drive, we're kind of breaking new ground here. We're into the 2 million range.
Yep.
And it's not the only one in the 2 million range.
No, it isn't.
How do you think they took this picture? Drone?
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I like it.
I mean,
a very distinct house.
Talk about
with the taste.
We'll talk about the contrast of the inside and the outside.
Yeah, true.
Like the exterior of this house is very stately and it's I mean very nice and would probably appeal to a wide range of people. The inside is the total opposite. It's wildly decorated. It was very ornate and it was very very taste specific to its owner, and which probably led to it being a difficult house to price.
Yep.
And anytime in Needham, when you're over the $2 million threshold, pricing becomes challenging.
Sure.
This house was so heavily decorated. It had a lot of cool features, including it had a sunroom, which I had never seen before. The fireplace was over the TV.
Huh.
How about that?
Backwards.
Yeah. But great property, cool lot, really nice house, had a lot of potential. You're going to probably do some redecorating, but hey, I mean, that's $2.4 million almost, so good job, seller.
Built in 2005.
Yep.
436 South Street is our last home that sold in the month of
February.
It sells for $245. You saw this one.
I did. I really liked it. It was very, very tastefully done. Owned by a really high-end builder. Did a lot of updates. Beautiful kitchen. A lot of space. Really, really cool house. Good property also.
All right, let's take a quick peek at the market snapshot now as we are well into the month of March. I can say March.
Oh, sorry. I'm just so used to covering for you.
Quick few things that jump out at this, and we think this is definitely weather related, right?
Yep.
So you only have 38 single family listings right now, or at least as of March 3rd, 2015. That compares with 60 in March 3rd of 2014. So that's definitely people waiting this thing out. But now that the snow is melting, I think you're going to see listings coming on all over the place.
I agree.
For the month of March.
I think there's a bunch of listings that are teed up right now waiting to hit post.
And we'll touch on that in a little bit. And then 64 homes under agreement a year ago this time, just 40 in 2015. Other things, the average list price seems to be up. Days on market is about where we typically see it, as is list price per square foot. A couple things we want to touch on before we sign off.
Bonus slides?
Bonus slides.
Nice.
These are some things that people are asking us, so we figured we'd give you a quick answer because we're probably pretty sure our viewers are wondering the same thing. Number one is this winter that we've had, record-breaking winter.
Yep.
What does this mean for the spring market? Ryan, quick thoughts on that.
I mean, real quickly, as we're running short on time, I think the first thing people have to do before they put their houses on the market are clean up any water damage that they've had through ice damming. I mean, we've talked to some closing attorneys recently who've talked about every deal that they're working on right now that's closing has water, ice dam related language going into the purchase and sale.
Interesting.
And it's just because this winter, if you didn't have an ice dam water issue in the month of February, consider yourself fortunate because most people did.
That's right. And we just touched on it before. You know, you have this ice dam issue, which might end up delaying some people putting their house on the market, but we think things are very backed up.
Right.
And from what we see, the demand is extremely strong.
Extremely strong.
And so as these things come on, I think you're going to see certainly no dip in the market. I think it upticks a little bit. At worst case scenario, it stays steady with where it's been.
Yeah.
Where it's been has been a very strong place.
Right. I think this is very similar to March of 2010 when we had those record rainstorms that caused a lot of flooding, and there were a lot of listings that came off the market, cleaned up, and went back on.
Right.
But just be wary of that as the snow melts, and if we do get some washouts, we may not be out of the woods yet from a property maintenance standpoint.
Okay, and this leads us to our other slide, which is people just starting to look at their electric bill and think, what is going on? Why is my electric bill so high? And is it because of this record-breaking winter that we've had? As you know, we set a record for most consecutive days of under 40 degrees, but that's a different story. So we just wanted to alert our viewers that that's not necessarily why your electric bill is so high. It's going to stay high because Eversource, formerly known as NSTAR, now known as Eversource,
sticking it to you.
They basically, long story short, they've jacked up their pricing. And what people don't realize is you have options in terms of your electric providers. And right now, Eversource charging 15 cents per kilowatt hour, without getting too technical. There are other companies that are charging 10 cents per kilowatt hour. You and I have both changed our electric provider. You're talking 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, maybe, worst case scenario, to switch over. And the translation is hundreds of dollars it'll save you over the course of the following year.
Absolutely.
So if you want any information on that, feel free to call us or email us. Ryan, why don't you give that information? You
can call us anytime at 781-707-6564. You can also email us at rob.ryan@hawthornre.com.
And there we go.
Yeah.
There we have it.
That's a wrap-up of February.
I think you're struggling with that word now, too. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it as always. We look forward to seeing you again real soon.